13. Psalm chapter 13. I'm going to read it again, just so we all know what we're doing and what we're talking about. Psalm 13. It reads as follows. To the choir master, a psalm of David. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I take counsel in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all the day? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Light up my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. Lest my enemies say, I have prevailed over him. Lest my foes rejoice because I am shaken. But I have trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. I don't know about you guys. I love music. I love music. I love music when I'm doing chores in the house, when I'm driving, when I'm walking, when I'm attempting to run. I enjoy music. I really do. And often music is it's a soundtrack to our life. It's kind of in the background. I'm not really listening to it. I know words to songs. I don't know how those words got in my head. You know how that happens? You just know the words of songs from just absorbing them through the air, I guess. I was out with my wife one day. We're going to the mall. We're pulling up. I usually pull up, turn the radio off, get out, because whatever playing on the radio, who gives a rip what songs on the radio? There's a song playing this one day. We pulled into the spot, and we couldn't get out of the car. Because the song wasn't background noise anymore. For us, we were listening to the words. It was like a poem set to music. And the poem went like this. It's enough to drive a man crazy. It will shake a man's faith. It's enough to make him wonder if he's ever been saved. When he's bleeding for comfort from thy staff and thy rod, and the heaven's only answer is the silence of God. And that song played. And I just cried. I had never heard that idea in my whole life. I've been in church all my life. I've gone to Bible studies, I've gone to Bible school, I read books. And nowhere on my travels have I heard this idea talked about. I've heard of backsliding, I've heard of pain, I've heard of doubting because of pain, but I've never heard about normal followers of Christ speak of losing their way. Then you read Psalm 13, and David, his words come out. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? David feels far away from God. David feels like God has forgotten him. That God's face is impossible to find. That God has hidden his face. And David is crying out. And this song of his, is a song of sadness, of lament. The first thing I want to say to us this morning is simply this. Even followers get lost. Christ has called us to follow him by faith. We can't see him. I can't touch him. There are moments in life where I don't know if I'm hearing my voice or his. And there have been seasons of life where I've called upon him, I've asked him for help, and I've heard no answer. I have felt this silence of God. I have, with David, felt the feeling, how long will you forget me forever? And I'm not the only one. You read the scriptures, and there's people who feel this throughout the Bible story. I go to Job chapter 30. And Job says this, and it's crazy to me. Job 30 and verse 16, he says, "And now my soul is poured out within me. Days of affliction take hold of me. The night racks my bones, and the pain that gnaws me takes no rest. With great force my garment is disfigured. It binds me about like the collar of my tunic. God has cast me into the mire, and I have become like dust and ashes. Listen, I cry to you for help, and you do not answer me. I stand and you only look at me." On the cross, Christ prayed the prayer himself, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" I don't know why. In the Christian, in the church world, in growing up in the church, being in the Christian world, there's this like unwritten rule, this unspoken rule, that it's got to be okay all the time. That we have to be all right with everything. That we have to have, praise the Lord, all is good all the time. But you read the Psalms, and I love the Psalms because the Psalms are the heart of the Bible. They're the emotion of the Bible. And in this psalm, David's like, listen, man, David's a man after God's own heart. David loves the Lord. But he is in a moment where he feels far from God. And that happens. Not because of sin, not because of disobedience, just because we live in flesh and he is spirit. There are going to be seasons of life where we do not feel his presence. I pray every morning. My days begin with the Lord. And there are some days when you pray, and I will feel God's good pleasure. And I am thankful, and it feels good. And there are days I pray, and I feel nothing. Why? Here's some truths about this feeling far from God. First of all, it's a feeling, it's not the truth. I may feel far from God, but God is still near to me. I'm just not able to sense it, to feel it. Our emotions are a terrible compass. Terrible compass. I've literally, this sounds insane to say out loud. I've opened the freezer in my home, had stuff fall out on the ground, and I've literally considered just like leaving my family and driving to the south and a new life over a dropped roast beef. Emotions aren't to be trusted because they're crazy. They're crazy. I'm not leaving my family. I'm just saying, like, stick your brother out. You just want to give up on life. Emotions are nuts. I've been cut off, and I've wanted to burn down my testimony and my integrity just to beat up some guy I don't know. Emotions are nuts. They explode out of us. And sometimes we can't feel God's presence. It doesn't mean he's not there. It just means we're not feeling the warmth of it. And we're like, well, why does God do that? Why doesn't God just give us the heat all the time? Why would he allow us to feel far away? I'll tell you why. Today I'm going to go home and put pedals on my daughter's bicycle. She's been riding a Strider bike. You guys know what that is? No pedals. You just kind of glide. Just learn balance. Today she gets pedals with no training wheels. Today. And when we start walking and doing the thing down the street, I'm going to hold that seat. And I'm going to run behind her. She's going to start pedaling, and I got her. And she's going to feel that strength and that balance. She's going to know she's safe. I want to start that way. But at some point, I have to let her pedal without me holding that seat. I have to let her ride the bike. If she's 14, I'm still running behind her on that seat, the neighbor's going to talk. And these are short bike rides too, man. We grow. God, okay, here's the thing. Here's the question. Let's say I invite you to my home on a Sunday after church. And you come over and make us some chorizo y huevos, some Mexican breakfast. And you think it's awesome, because it is. Next Sunday, I invite you over again. Come over again. We eat some tacos. We watch some football. Life is awesome. For months, this goes on. And you're like, this is the best. Then one Sunday, I invite you over. No tacos. And you're bummed out. Come on next week. No tacos again. The third week, I invite you. You don't come. I wonder to myself, did he come over to be with me or to eat my tacos? I don't go to God for the gifts. I don't go to God to receive the gifts of the giver. I go to God to be with the giver of the gifts. I don't need the emotional punch. I know he's true, and that's enough. I don't go for the tacos. I go because I know he's there. In the Christian life, as we walk it, there will be times when we do not feel his presence. This does not mean you're praying incorrectly. It does not mean God hates you. It means you're a person made of flesh and bone. There was a season of my life. My wife and I promised a church 5 years of life. And we had 5 years of youth ministry at a church. And it was a good 5 years. And 5 years came to an end, and we realized we promised God we would be considered being missionaries somewhere. So I've been praying, God, where do you want us to go? Where do you want us to be? We'll do anything you have for us. I've been praying, and God didn't say a word. I would literally go off on like these weekends and pray and fast, and there was nothing. And I began to get discouraged. It was a whole year. I didn't feel his smile upon me. Oh, I mean, it was an awful year for me. It was a hard year. I wondered lots of things. Doubt crept up. I wondered, is there sin? Is there a confession? I'm asking all of them, what's happening to me? We came out of that year of silence. And I'll tell you what. It's crazy how the human soul grows stronger through resistance, through obstacles, through holding on. So people have asked me before, I said, how come your faith is so strong? I'm like, because it's been tested so much. I don't want to go through it again. I don't wish it for you. But living in this life, in this world, with this heart and these emotions, sometimes we don't feel them. It does not mean you're evil or broken or something wrong. It means you're a person. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I take counsel in my own soul and have sorrow in my heart all the day? This is a man who's going through spiritual depression. This is a man who's going through the dark night of the soul. It exists. And some of you may have not gone through this yet. Know that it does exist. I hope for you it's a day or a week, not a year. But sometimes even followers get lost. So what does David do? Verse 3. Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Light up my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. Light up my eyes, meaning, give me that joy back. Be the light of my eyes again. Give me the feeling back. Lest my enemies say I have prevailed over him, lest my foes rejoice that I am shaken. There's an old hymn, Be Thou My Vision. It's my favorite song. It's my favorite Christian song of all time. I sing it all the time at the house. Just walk around humming it. There's this line at the end of like verse 2 or 3. Thy presence, my light. David knows that God's presence is his light. That God's presence is his life. That he knows, he feels his feeling. This how long, O Lord? The feeling is, where are you? What's going on? And he knows the answer to his need is God. He keeps on going back to the Lord because he knows it's what he needs. It's a solution to the problem. Because here's the reality of things. In order to feel absence, you must have had the presence in the first place. In order to feel absence, you must have had the thing in the first place. If I saw Bruce Willis tomorrow on the street, I couldn't go, hey Bruce, I've missed you. Because I don't know Bruce Willis. We're not boys, we're not friends. In order to miss something, you have to have had it. And David was a man who sought the Lord. Read his Psalms. Read the songs he writes. He says, like, where will I go? David seeks, he's called a man after God's own heart. David seeks the Lord. David longs for the Lord. David has seen God's face and it has been the light of his life. David asks the question. He says, how long will I take counsel in my own soul? Where did he used to take counsel? In the Lord. You might sit here and say, I've never felt this absence. Well, maybe it's because you never had his presence. If you know how good it is to have him, you want to know how awful it is when you don't feel it anymore. David knows that, okay, I'll say it this way. So I said I pray every morning. Okay, I pray every morning. For me, I have a prayer closet. It's called my shower because the kids can't find me there. When you're a parent, when it's small, you gotta find little places. So I pray. Let's say I pray 7 times in a week. 14, whatever. I pray all week long, 7 times. I come to the door and I knock. And some days I knock. And I'm faithful. I'm obedient. Because I know he's there. I know he's commanded me to come. And so I come. I show up. And sometimes I pray for those I love. And there's no emotional explosions. Nothing. It's just me and God. It's sweet, but it's not like life-shaking. Just kind of nice. Some days I pray and it's really tough. The mind wanders. You fall asleep. Whatever happens, happens. Keep showing up. And once in a while, you show up. And it's like the curtains to heaven are open. And you feel God's presence just, it's like being in the holiest of holies, just bam! Like the glory settles in the bathroom, and it's you and God, you're crying, and it's awesome. Here's what I know. I can't make it happen. I love it when it does happen. I'm all about it. I know this. If I didn't come every day, I have no chance of touching it. If I didn't keep on showing up, there'd be no chance for the explosion, for God's presence to be just flooding like that. Because I know That God is my light, that He is life. So we seek, and we knock, and we ask, and we follow. And a buddy asked me this week, we're corresponding, kind of old school. And he asked me, what's in the forefront of your mind these days? And I wrote back, I'm like, the forefront of my mind these days, it's what's always the forefront of my mind, how do we follow Jesus? I'm still learning how to follow. Because it's walking on the invisible bridge is always hard. The life of faith will always be hard. There will come a day where I die. And on the other side of this thing, I will finally see and be known. And then I'll walk by sight and not by faith. But until that time, it's a struggle. It's a journey. It's a walk of obedience. So, you might ask, well, Pastor, if following God, there's no guarantee of emotional sunshine all day. Why even bother? I say you bother because it's the truth. You bother because it's good and right and true. And I'm going to sail north regardless of how I feel. And this is our third point. Verse 5. After all this sadness, after all this sleepless of death talk, after all of this spiritual depression, verse 5 comes out of nowhere. But I have trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord, because He has dealt bountifully with me. David has a lot of songs like this that start off sad and broken, where he is in his own heart. There is great sadness. And what's crazy is, at the end of every one of his sad songs, it never ends in depression. It never ends like, oh man, it never stops there. At the end of his songs, he always decides, he always chooses to trust. His circumstances have not changed. The feeling still is real. He still feels far away. But he chooses to trust God. Your emotions should not be the foundation of your decisions. Because if you, what's the old phrase, follow your heart. Holy cow, where would you end up if you took that advice? What chaos would you create for your life and everyone you love if you obeyed that advice? My wonderful wife. We were youth ministers, youth pastors, and all the junior high girls would come to her. The girls would come to her and ask for counsel. And we did, junior high, high school. It's in that moment of great hormonal upheaval, and we had these girls with incredible potential who love Jesus, but then they fall for some fool of a boy. They would just fall head over heels for a numbskull. Didn't love Jesus, didn't like her, she's still gone. But I love him. Like, it was crazy. And Angie would tell me, I'll let Angie deal with that because I'm not deal with this. So Angie would deal with this. And she would tell these girls, I know you may feel this way. I know the emotions may seem like they're drowning you. But you have to make the decision what you're going to do. You can't blame how you feel on what you do next. Before I met my wife, some fella came along and proposed to her. 3 times he proposed to her. And in her life at that time, she got out of college. She had tried to be a missionary with a mission organization, and no one would take her. Everywhere she had to go and work, they said, you need to be, if you were married, we'd take you. If you had 5 spirits, we'd take you. No one would take her because she was a single girl out of college. And so she went back home to the tree farm in Marlette, Michigan, and was a construction worker in Marlette. Pretty hot, actually. But she was just swinging a hammer on a roof is what she was doing for years. And so it's not happening. It's not happening. She's just, what she wants to do for the Lord is not happening. And along comes a guy, asked her to marry her. And part of her was like, maybe it'd be a chance. You know, maybe there's no one else around. Maybe this is the guy who's married. She knew he was a slob, but part of her was like, maybe he's not that bad. You talk with a lot of things when you're lonely. So her emotions kind of just betraying her, but she's like, you know what? This is not what I want. This is not what I've covenanted with God to have. And she would choose against her emotions and say no. 3 times she said no. And the Lord honored that faithfulness. Hey, to be fair, she told me no the first time too. She didn't say no. I didn't actually remember. I just said let's date. She said no, but then it's no long story. But the point is, she would not allow emotions to dictate her decisions. And in the Christian life, that's maturity. David feels far from God. David feels like God's hiding his face from him. And what does David choose to do? He chooses to trust God and he chooses to praise God. He sings to God even though he is sad. He praises God's goodness even though he don't see it. Because even though I don't see it, I did saw it then. The hill I'm on is big, but the mountains I crossed were bigger. And so here I am, and right now, man, this storm seems bad. Don't forget that God brought through a hurricane just 2 years ago. When we came to Flint, we went through what would you call that? This huge question process with this organization to see if we were ready to be church planters. It was a nightmare. And we go through this process, all these questions, and we had just gone through a very emotional moment in our lives. We had left our home. We had sold our home, left our home. It was a very sad season. And the people, the questioners, they're like, you guys shouldn't be standing. You guys should be you should be somewhere being counseled and crying a lot over what just happened to you. And I remember laughing and going, listen, man, 6 years ago, I got arrested in India. My wife was on her deathbed and we just lost her first child. And I'm like, we came home from that and we went somewhere and cried for a long time. I'm like, this storm is bad, but God brought us through that. He's going to get us through this. Amen. My trust in what he had done, I was like, what is this? What is this? My God has handled way more than this in the past. I am not afraid. If I go through a week of life or a month of life where I don't feel God's presence, I don't fret. Because I'm like, I went through a year one time. I know he's there. And even if I can't feel it, I know he's real. I know he's good. So I will keep on walking. I will choose to trust regardless of how I feel. It's a hard decision to trust against your emotions. That's maturity. If you are following the Lord and you know what he has for you, maybe like my wife, who after college just was waiting for God to open a door and she didn't know what the next move was. How many years are you waiting for that, man? 5 years. That's a long time. What's next, God? Trust him. Don't just give up. Don't abandon. Don't turn to addiction or pleasure or sin. Turn back to God. He's the only one with the answer, so keep going there. This passage ends by saying, I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. I'm going to ask the band to come back up. We're going to sing to the Lord. Why? Because he has dealt bountifully with us. You might say to yourself, well, listen, it doesn't feel bountiful. You might say right now, There's no money. Right now, there's no answers. Right now, it's really hard. Right now, I'm really sad. Even then, we sing. Even now, we sing. Because God, He is still on the throne. He still loves us. He still has a purpose for our lives. And the choice is, do we trust Him or not? And my counsel to us, church, let us trust Him.